Today we will see first law of motion. The statement of first law of motion is, this is everybody continue in its state of rest or uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled by an external force to change that state. That means, as yesterday we have defined the three type of inertia: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. So all these three type of inertia, when you combine, it will become a Newton's law of motion here, the Newton's law of motion here. Okay, in that the statement is given, if you just take this part, like the body continue in its state of rest. That means if a body is moving, if a body is in rest, it will continue in rest until unless an external force is applied. So this is about the inertia of rest. Now if you see the object which is moving in uniform motion, it will remain in uniform motion. So this will indicate the inertia of motion. Next, in a straight line, that means the line, if any object is moving in uniform velocity in a straight line, that means it will continue in that straight line only, that will not change the position or that will not take any of the turn. So this is about the inertia of direction. So all three together will explain this Newton's law of motion here, the first law of motion here. Okay, in which if any object is in rest position, it will remain rest. If any object is uniform motion in a straight line, it will remain continue in uniform motion until unless an external force is applied on it. Okay, so this is the statement. We can see many examples of the Newton's first law of motion. One example that you can see very well, when the dust particle will fallen off from a blanket, if you just beat that blanket, what happen when you beat the blanket will come into the motion, the blanket will start moving, and the dust particle, those who are in the inertia of rest, that dust particle will fall off, just leave the surface of the blanket, and because of the law of inertia, or you can say simply because of the first law of Newton, they will continue remain in the rest position and it will fall off. Okay, second example also you can see in a moving bus. If a passenger is there in a moving bus, all of a sudden if the bus stop, so the upper part of that person will fall forward, or that means lean forward, you can say simply lean forward. That means that upper part will be coming forward direction, because the upper part will be, means whole body will be in the inertia of motion, and whole body will just following the inertia of motion. So the upper part which is in the inertia of motion will be fall or will be lean forward, but the lower part which is in the touch of the ground or touch on the surface of the bus, that will remain as it is, means that will stop as the bus stop. Okay, so these are many examples. You can see some videos also, I will share the video, that will means a very good examples of the first law of motion, first law of Newton's law of motion. Okay, so this is all about. Now one more thing, the hidden facts are there in this Newton's law of motion. You can say that the Newton first law of motion is defining what? The force. It is defining the force, the external force. What is the external force? That means it is simply telling about what the force is, a factor, or force is simply a pull or push which bring many changes in the object. Like it will make a rest object to move, it will make a uniform object which is moving with a uniform velocity to make it non-uniform, and it can change the direction of the motion. So here, that means already we have studied about this. We have studied what is force, and what are the effects of the force. Okay, so the hidden fact is there in this also. That means you can say simply the Newton's law of motion is defining the force. Newton's law of motion is also defining the inertia. As I told you, the inertia is the inherent property of any of the object which opposes any of the change on it. Means it doesn't want, the object doesn't want to change on its own until unless a force is applied. Okay, so that is also means the Newton's law of motion is here. As I told you that this part is the inertia of rest, this is the inertia of motion, and this is the inertia of direction. So the whole first law of motion, first law of Newton's motion, that is just describing the inertia. And one more fact you can see here, that inertia is directly proportional to mass. How can we say that the inertia is directly proportional to mass? Suppose you want to displace a car and a truck just by applying your muscular force, where you will require more force, obviously, to move or to displace truck. Why it is so? It is so because the mass of the truck is more than the mass of the car. Okay, so that means simply you can say the inertia of rest in both the bodies, in the truck and the car, will be same. You can't say that it will be same, because if the masses differ, the inertia also will differ. That means simply you can say that inertia is directly proportional to mass. And the same way, similar way, if truck is moving and the car is moving with the same velocity, to stop a truck or to stop a car, you must apply brake, and definitely you have to apply, when you apply brake in the truck, that will require more force comparison to the car. Okay, so here that case also you can say the because of the mass, the inertia will be more, and so that if we want to change that part, if we want to change any of the object which is having more mass, so that is having more inertia, and that will require more force. Okay, so you can say inertia is directly proportional to mass. Before proceeding to Newton's second law of motion, we will see a physical quantity, momentum, that we will use in the Newton's second law of motion. You can see here the definition of momentum is the total quantity of motion possessed by a moving body is called momentum. And if you want to understand it in a very simple way, you can say simply it is the product of mass and velocity of the body. That means that momentum is represented with the letter P here, and it is the product of mass and the velocity. Obviously, you can see that the mass and the velocity, this product is the a vector quantity, velocity is a vector quantity here, and mass is a real number, you can say. So a real number is multiplied with the velocity will give you a vector quantity. So the momentum is also a vector quantity. And if you talk about the SI unit of momentum, we can say the SI unit of momentum, this is mass is in kilogram and the velocity is in meter per second. So the SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second, and the CGS unit of momentum is equal to gram centimeter per second. And if you talk about the dimension formula of momentum, already you have calculated it in chapter 2, but here also we can see for mass it is m and v is lt minus 1. So the dimension formula for the momentum is mlt minus 1 here. Okay, so this is about the momentum. Now we will see two questions here. First question is, a heavier and a lighter body have same velocity. Which of the two has greater momentum? So it is given to us, two bodies are there. One is of mass m1, another is of mass m2, and suppose m1 is less than m2, that means the first body is lighter body and the second body is the heavier body. Okay, both are having the same velocity. So velocity of first body is equal to velocity of second body, and both are equal to v here. Now we know by the formula of momentum, P1 is equal to m1v1 and P2 is equal to m2v2. You will see here, if we'll just take the ratio of these two, so it is P1 upon P2 is equal to m1v1 upon m2v2. Now P1 upon P2 is equal to m1. In place of V1 we will write V, and in place of V2 also we will write V, because both are equal, so both will be cancelled here. Now you will see P1 upon P2 is equal to M1 upon M2. Since M1 is less than M2, so P1 is also less than P2. That means the momentum of heavier body will be more here. Okay, m1 is the mass of lighter body, m2 is the mass of heavier body, p1 is the momentum of lighter body and p2 is the momentum of heavier body. So the heavier body is having more momentum than the lighter body if velocities of both the bodies are equal. Next question is, a heavier and a lighter body have same momentum. Which of the two has greater velocity? Here you will write, we can write heavier and a lighter body. So suppose m1 is the mass of the lighter body and m2 is the mass of the heavier body, and m1 is less than m2. Both are having same momentum. That means P1 momentum of first body or lighter body is equal to momentum of heavier body is equal to P, because both are equal. So we have written P it is. Okay. Now we know that P1 is equal to M1V1 and P2 is equal to M2V2. Same way we will take the ratio of these two. So we will write here P1 upon P2 is equal to M1V1 upon M2V2. Okay. Now you will see that because P1 and P2 are equal, we will write in place of P1 P, in place of P2 P, and equal to M1 V1 M2 V2. Now you will see these two will be cancelled here. The ratio will come 1. So I am just writing here 1. M1 V1 upon M2 V2 is equal to 1. Now you will see that M1 V1 equal to M2 V2, or simply we can write M1 upon M2 is equal to V2 upon V1 here. That means because M1 is less than M2, so what you will find, V2 is less than V1. M1 is the mass of lighter body, M2 is the mass of heavier body, V2 is the velocity of heavier body and V1 is the velocity of lighter body. So you will find that the velocity of lighter body will be more if the momentum of both the bodies are equal. The question given here is the establish the general relation between momentum and kinetic energy. So we know that the formula for the kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. If you just write this kinetic energy with the symbol k, so k is equal to half mv square, or you can say v square is equal to 2k upon m, or v is equal to root 2k upon m. Okay, this we will write as equation 1. Now we know the formula for momentum. Momentum is equal to mv. We will write the formula of velocity from equation 1 here. So m is equal to 2k upon m here. This is, you can see that m multiplied with root of 2k upon m here. This root m and this m will cancel and it will become root m. This will become root m. So we can simply write this is 2mk, root 2mk. So this is the relation between the momentum and the kinetic energy. Now if it is asked to you, if you double the momentum of any body, what will happen to the kinetic energy? So look at here, what we are doing. Suppose initially the momentum is P1, which is equal to P. Now the momentum become 2P here. So P2 is now 2P. The momentum become 2P. So if double the momentum of any of the body, so what will happen to the kinetic energy? We'll see. This is P1, which is equal to 2mk1, and P2, which is equal to root of 2mk2. Okay, and it happened with a body, that means the mass will remain constant. So if we take the ratio of these two, P1 upon P2, it will equal to root of 2mk1 upon root of 2mk2. P1 is P here, P2 is 2P here. This root 2 will be cancelled, root m will be cancelled. It will become root k1 upon k2. So we'll squaring both side here. This pp will be cancelled, and if you square both side here, what you will find, 1 upon 2, this will 1 upon 4, k1 k2, or you can say k2 will transfer here, k1 will transfer there. So it is k2 is equal to 4 k1. That means kinetic energy will become 4 times of initial kinetic energy. So if you double the momentum, the kinetic energy will become 4 times.